Chapter 401, Getting Around, Digging for a Lot of Roads. Now, what should I do? The question from the commander of the Navy's general ship was a true portrayal of the person who witnessed the dozens of ships being destroyed by the Saiyan in an instant. F-2 Fighter Aircraft Group, request instructions, will it launch an attack on the target? Hovering above his head, the pilots of several supersonic fighters felt extremely stressed, so they issued instructions to the ground command room to inquire about the intercom channel. When firing and attacking, you must delay the time. The Tiantong Juzhikeng who reacted, issued another order. No, stop. The girl Saint Emperor came to his senses and shouted quickly, but it was a little too late. The pilots of 2 fighter jets were nervous. After hearing the offensive order, they pressed their fingers on the fire button. The air-to-ground missile was launched, but it was intercepted halfway before it hit Scorpio. The beam of the energy bomb appeared again. After blocking the air-to-ground missile, it continued to head towards the 2 fighters that launched the missile. The fighter pilot was flying a supersonic fighter to avoid it, but it was useless. Compared with the speed of the Broly energy bomb, the fighter with a maximum flight speed of only Mach 2.2 was too slow. It was quickly caught up and destroyed, turning into 2 fireworks in the sky. Can't the supersonic fighter escape? The captain of the naval general ship observed this scene and had determined that as long as the attack was directed towards them, it would be impossible to avoid such an attack at only 30 knots, which is about 55.5 km per hour. Goo. The other fighter pilots who were so calm that they didn't immediately press the fire button after hearing the order. They felt that they had rubbed their shoulders with the god of death, and a layer of cold sweat broke out on their foreheads under the flight helmet. Assistant of Tiantong, I hope you will not give orders at will. The girl Saint Emperor said to the Tiantong Juzhikeng who was standing beside him with a serious face. Has the Holy Emperor accused me of making a wrong judgment? The old man also had a calm face. Isn't it? Because of your random orders, the Tokyo Navy's 3rd Fleet is gone, and the Air Force is almost gone just now. Tiantong Mu even said to his grandfather. Is there any part of your conversation here? The old man glared at his granddaughter. Assistant officer of Tiantong, I have hired Miss Mu Geng as an advisor to this battle. The girl Saint Emperor said. We actually have better choices. After a pause, she added. A better choice. Tiantong Juzhikeng frowned. He didn't know what the girl Saint Emperor meant, so he heard the girl Saint Emperor ask Yang Tiantong Muzhen, Miss Muzhen, I want to ask you a question. I hope you can answer me truthfully. What's the problem? Please tell me, as long as I know it, I will definitely tell you everything. Tentoki was even more puzzled what she wanted to ask, but she still showed her attitude. Do you really have nothing to do with the military? The girl Saint Emperor asked. No. Tiantong Mu shook her head even more decisively, but after thinking about it, she pointed at Sima Weizi opposite and added. The only thing you have to say is that you have a bad personal relationship with the guy opposite, is it counting? Snort. Sima Weizi snorted coldly, but said nothing. The power of the Saiyan boy is beyond her imagination. Something is being considered in my mind. As for Scorpio's invasion, it seems unstoppable now, but this is not a problem. After all, even if the Tokyo district is really falling, as the future heir to Sima Heavy Industry, she will never die. I understand, then. The girl Saint Emperor got the answer and looked at Tiantong Mu Geng's cell phone on the table. Mr. Ricky, you once called me. But when you wanted me to be my wife, was it actually Broly said? The girl, the Holy Emperor, asked. Tiantoki and Sima Miori both stared at her and looked at her. Yeah. On the other end of the phone, Rentaro was a little surprised at first, but then he gave a positive response. But I don't know if I have any chance to promise that child's wife now, and ask him not to help Scorpio. The Holy Emperor took a deep breath and asked. Rishi was stunned when Rentaro was stunned, but he also felt it was reasonable. Broly directly helped Scorpio because Scorpio promised his wife. Now that Broly doesn't help Scorpio, it is normal for the Holy Emperor to agree to become Broly's wife. Perhaps, this is to learn from the barbarians' skills to control the barbarians, but whether this operation is possible or not, Rentaro really doesn't know. I don't know, I have to ask Broly. The boy answered honestly. See sir there, can I ask you to ask him? The Holy Emperor said again. Listening to the request from the phone, he looked at the Saiyan boy sitting in the distance with his voyeur eyes and was already bouncing the unparalleled Saiyan boy with energy, and saw Rentaro fall into silence. It is undoubtedly dangerous to get close to a giant like Scorpio, but in this situation, if you don't get close to negotiate with Broly, then the danger is the Tokyo area. Don't worry, Broly will definitely not hurt us. Lan Yu and Yanzu seemed relaxed and comforted Jian Xiao Zaishi beside her. Broly won't hurt us, but Scorpio may not be. Rentaro Rimi reminded him. Even if Scorpio doesn't mean to attack us, the other party's size is too large, and passing by may even crush us as little ants to death. The three of them walked forward and came to the warehouse area of the old port. What? Suddenly, Lan Yu and Yanzu stepped on something round and looked down. She saw that it was a broken arm holding a pistol, and her soles were stepping on the bend of her arms. Ah! The girl exclaimed, and the dark clouds above her head just floated over her. A lane covered with broken limbs and broken arms and blood everywhere appeared in front of the three of them. Oh, see you, are you here too, and have you watched the grand scene of Tokyo's mass extinction close up? A pleasant voice rang out. Lisa Shadow Yin. The boy who raised his head saw the man with a mask sitting gracefully on the top of the warehouse. Yahoo! The little guy who ran very fast, we're meeting again. Leech Kokobina also greeted Arahara Yoshihu. You are the little one. Do you want to fight? Rishi Rentaro stopped Arahara Yanju, I don't have time to pay attention to them now. Are you going to stop Scorpio? Lisa Yingyan looked at the three of them walking towards the coast and asked. It's not your business. The boy replied. It's really not my business, but I want to meet Broly boy above the Scorpio. Lisa Yingyan followed him with his daughter. What did you do when you see him? Of course, he welcomed him with open arms and became a person who destroyed the world. Lisa Yingyan said for granted. Broly is different from a lunatic like you. What's the difference? I summoned Scorpio, and he helped Scorpio. Well, Broly boy must be disappointed with humans because of the online war of quarrels with people. This is what Lisa Yingyan said. No, Broly helped Scorpio because Scorpio had promised to be his wife. Lan Yu and Yanzu retorted. Lisa Yingyan stopped and stared at Lan Yu and Yanzu with wide eyes. What did you say? However, Lanhara Yanju didn't mean to answer him and was pulled away by Rentaro. Hey, answer my dad's words. Labiniang took out the knife. My destruction of the world is just trying to destroy the wrong order structure of the old human society. Is Broly boy jumping directly to the position of the gastrula animal, preparing to completely destroy human itself? Lisa Yingyan hurriedly followed, held down his daughter's knife, and asked. He won't do that, nor will we let him do it. Rishiki Rentaro speeds up, but Liko Kajin follows even tighter. A group of 5 people came to the beach. Broly, look here. Before Scorpio approached, Rishimai Rentaro opened his arms wide and waved hard, trying to attract the boy's attention. Broly had noticed these acquaintances long ago and saw that the boy seemed to have something to do with him, so I flew over to ask what was wrong. Son of the Holy Emperor, I want to talk to you. Rishimai Rentaro handed over his cell phone directly, while the call was still on the other side. After Broly took the phone, he soon heard the words of the girl Saint Emperor on the other end of the phone. Broly, I apologize to you for refusing to be your wife before. At that time, I thought you were a person representing the military force and didn't know what you said was literally. Now I am willing to promise to be your wife, hoping to get your military support. Broly didn't expect that there would be such a good thing. Just as he was about to agree, he heard the words from the girl Saint Emperor, I hope you can help eliminate Scorpio. In the command room, as soon as the girl Saint Emperor finished speaking, he heard the refusal without hesitation, sorry, I reject your request. I will not hurt the one who has promised to be my wife just because of a guide, well, a huge monster. What if I added? Simawiazi said. The people in the command room looked at the short-sleeved kimono girl in surprise. Who are you? Broly couldn't tell anyone he was unfamiliar with, but he asked. You have picked it up and you want to take it away as equipment? Simawiazi introduced himself, and Broly thought about it. If 2 to 1, you should agree to help us. No, it's 2 to 2. Before Broly could speak, Leech Skin Yingyan spoke first. Little Bina. Dad wants you to marry Broly and let him continue to help Scorpio, are you willing? If he is willing to teach me the tricks of destroying warships and fighter jets. Xiao Bina was a little reluctant, but Leech Skin Yingyan seemed to be very persistent, so he made a request. Leech Boy Kobina also wants to learn cool energy buzzing tricks. Broly. What if I add me? At this moment, Tentoki also stood up, and the people in the command room were already a little numb. The eyes of the remaining women present became a little weird, and they wondered if there was the wife the monster boy on the opposite side wanted. The Tokyo area should not be destroyed. There are still many innocent lives here. Broly, although I don't know you well, since Rentaro gets along well with you, you should be a good child, you will not destroy the Tokyo area, right? Broly. All of them were rejected before, but now they all agree. This made his eyes look at Lan Yuan Yanzu and Qian Shao Zaishi. If it's to protect everyone, then I'm willing to be your wife. Lan Yuan Yanzu finished speaking with a red face and looked at Qian Shao Xiaoxi next to her. Then, I agree too. Qian Shao Xiaoxi of the Dolphin Factor is a little uncertain. 5-2, Broly. Although Liko Keijian came out to make trouble, when Rishi saw Rentaro, he felt that his advantage was on the human side. With Broly's attitude of wanting to find a wife, he just chose more of his wife, and he was also a human wife. This kind of decision can be easily made. As long as Scorpio is eliminated, there will be 5 people who are willing to change their minds and promise to be my wife. This is really good news. Broly seemed to be a little moved. Then, Broly. The boy showed joy on his face. But, I refuse. But the next moment, the Saiyan boy showed the famous scene of the old man showing his companion on the shore of the northwest, and bluntly refused this proposal. Why? Rentaro Sakamai could not understand the boy's choice. 5-2, they are all wives, and the fewer ones are not human. No matter who chooses, they will choose the one with more people, right? I don't know why, but when everyone rejected me, only Scorpio agreed to me. Broly turned his head and looked at the shore of the Shanghai, carefully avoiding the behemoth here. Scorpios are very important to me, more important than you all add up. Only this is the only thing I can be sure of. Saiyan boys are not creatures of interest. Compared to interests, he actually pays more attention to feelings. For example, the first Fujimura Okawa who was kind to him and bathed him, Broly remembers it now. Compared to Master Akiya, who helped and needed his care, also used sincere care to make the boy regard her as an important person. There are other wives who also have increasingly heavy weight in Broly's heart during the relationship. Now, although Broly has only known him for less than 5 minutes, there are already many people in this world who rejected him. The non-human Scorpio, who is in the shape of an ancient god, becomes the white moonlight of the Saiyan boy. Broly cannot describe this strange feeling in detail, but he can make the most correct judgment. He will not hurt the first Scorpio in the world who promised to become his wife in order to make more people who may become his wife. Does the negotiation fail? The girl Saint Emperor was a little regretful, regretting why he didn't figure it out at the beginning, so he hung up the phone. No, Broly just refused to hurt Scorpio and did not say he was unwilling to help us. Tiantung Mu even discovered a blind spot. What if we just need you to ensure the safety of the Tokyo area? On the other side of the phone, a new request was quickly made. Oh, then that's okay. Upon hearing this, Broly agreed readily. After Scorpio landed, he climbed directly to the church in the old port district. The roof of the church was lifted by huge tentacles, and then a large number of small tentacles split out from the huge tentacles. He was cautious and rolled up the pink bicycle inside the 7-star relics box opened in front of the church. Woo! As if it was joyful and as if it was sad, Scorpio made a melodious cry. Scorpio, happiness value continues to rise. The people in the entire Tokyo area heard the voice of Scorpio at this moment. If a person who is woken up late at night lives in a tall building and his vision is not blocked, he can see Scorpios in the distance, like a hill. Is it sad? Lan Yuan Yanzu asked. No, this is happy. Broly answered. To everyone's expectations, after getting the pink bicycle, Scorpio did not continue to head towards the current safety zone in Tokyo. Instead, I was immersed in a sense of joy, stayed in the warehouse area of the old port, and kept rubbing the pink bicycle with my tentacles. The ultra-electromagnetic cannon shells have arrived at the ladder and have been filled. The ladder can shoot at any time. Will you shoot immediately? In the command room, looking at the Scorpio stopping on the screen, my thoughts were suddenly interrupted by a report. Scorpio has been blocked from shooting in the old port area of Tokyo Bay, and there is no need to shoot. Scorpio's humanized tweets touched the girl saint, who knew the truth about the 7-star relics, and she cancelled the ladder launch plan. Tiantong Zhihekeng's eyes flashed slightly, but he didn't say anything. Now, Scorpio may not be a problem, the horrible boy who suddenly appeared is the biggest problem. Chapter 402 Instructions. Don't worry about Scorpio things for the time being. Next. The guard suddenly rushed into the command room of the shelter, but surrounded the head of Tiantong Zhi. Sir, what do you mean? The chief of Tiantong Zhi was not panicked, but asked the Holy Emperor. Assistant Officer Tiantong, you are suspected of endangering the Tokyo security zone. You need to be arrested now. The Holy Emperor answered his question. Where is the evidence? The old man continued to ask. Miss Mu Gang. The Holy Emperor looked at Tiantong Muxing. According to the entrusted by the Emperor of the Holy Emperor, our firm is responsible for investigating the identity of the person behind the Thunderbolt Ying Ian. The Thunderbolt Ying Ian is not a simple terrorist. The purpose of hiring the person behind him is probably to prevent the implementation of the new law of the original intestines. However, the only one who has manipulated public opinion in the recent past is the Tiantong family. This is slander. The clues have been found, and there are witnesses. Tiantong Mun, don't forget, you are also from the Tiantong family. Tiantong Zhihekeng looked ugly and scolded the girl. Yes, I have never forgotten it, but what I have never forgotten is the scene when my parents died at Tiantong's house because of a gastrula animal 10 years ago. What exactly is your head of the Tiantong family covering up? Why did the intestinal animals break into the Tiantong family? What is the secret behind the death of my parents? Tiantong Mu's eyes were even sharper and he stared at the old man. That was an accident. There were so many people who died because of gastrula animals 10 years ago. What you should hate should not be your own family, but the hateful gastrula animals. Tiantong Zhihekeng looked straight at his granddaughter and said this. Yes, but, compared to personal revenge, I think righteousness is a more important thing. What do you think? Tiantong assists the official. Tiantoki restrained his sharp expression and changed into a smile. The pure one will be clear, and I can accept investigation. Tiantong Zhihekeng did not look at his granddaughter anymore, but said to the girl Saint Emperor. If you are really fine Assistant Tiantong, you are really welcome, then I promise to give you a cleansing. The Emperor Tiantong Zhi was detained, and the Holy Emperor handed over the investigation to Tiantong Mugen. She transferred some of the guards to help Tetsuki do things that were not done tonight. After leaving the shelter, Tiantong Mugen and some people from the guard team soon arrived at Tiantong's house. But when they broke into Tiantong's house and found Tiantong's room, they saw a cold corpse that had been hung on the beam of the house. Depending on the degree of stiffness of the body, it is probably already 1 or 2 hours since the person died, and there is a suicide note on the table. It recognizes the matter of manipulating public opinion to prevent the implementation of the new law of the original intestines, but it regards this matter as a private act that he did without authorization. After knowing that he was exposed and caused trouble for the Tiantong family, this man was ashamed of the cultivation of the Tiantong family and faced the main family speechlessly, so he could only apologize for his death. Tiantong Mu looked at the contents of the suicide note, and his hand holding the suicide note almost wanted to crush the suicide note. What a Tiantong family! He abandoned the car to protect his handsomeness, right? Looking at the guards who were following each other, listening to the guard captain Baoyi's Warren asking what the suicide note was, she stared at the other party with a sharp look. The clue was only obtained tonight, and the same is true for people tonight. I just wanted to arrest me, but before the arrest, the person died. This was designated that someone informed me in advance. It is impossible for people from Tiantong firm to inform, and the Holy Emperor cannot report to Tiantong's family. Then the only person who can inform was the captain of the guard who was also present when he reported the situation. I guarantee that the third lieutenant cares about Tiantong's family, so I will leave the matter here to you. I'll report to the Holy Emperor. After Tiantoki finished speaking, he walked out directly. Stinky woman. Baoyi Zhouren cursed secretly, but he still stayed to deal with the situation on the scene. Midway through, the housekeeper of Tiantong's family pulled the person into a side room. After coming out, the man smiled and allowed the Tiantong family to collect the body for Tiantong's inn. Is the person dead? Dead. The Holy Emperor was speechless and took the suicide note to the room where Tiantong Zhihekeng was detained. Assistant Officer Tiantong, your family died and committed suicide because of fear of guilt. Do you have nothing to say to me? The Holy Emperor asked directly that her relationship with Tiantong Zhihekeng was quite complicated. In ancient terms, it was the relationship between the prince who lost the protection of the emperor at a young age and the current prime minister Yafu. Without the other party, she might not be able to grow up smoothly and ascend to the throne. However, after taking office, the power of this assistant official made the Holy Emperor feel a headache when political disagreement. The Holy Emperor hopes that this elder who has been careful instructing him since childhood can be honest and take a step back in this situation, but nothing. After listening to it, Tian Tongzhiking just folded his hands and leaned over and knelt down, guessing his thoughts for his family, and acted without authorization to manipulate public opinion, and solemnly apologized to the Holy Emperor. Political disagreement, and stuttering and causing trouble behind their backs are two different things. I am willing to resign from the position of assistant officer. Tian Tongzhiking took retreat as advance and handed over the position of assistant officer to prove his innocence. He admitted that the new law on the original intestines was implemented, and the people under him were arbitrarily manipulating public opinion. But he refused to hire Li Ziyingyan. As for the Holy Emperor, he did not believe it and wanted to continue investigating. Oh, the Tian Tong family has died, and the position of important and powerful assistant officer has been handed over. After breaking the clues, I took the lead in investigating. And want to be strong? Hehe, politics is not like this. At that time, all major officials in Tokyo will be in danger. How can the Holy Emperor manage the Tokyo security zone? Of course, if the other party joins the boy outside to engage in a political siege, it will give Tian Tongzhiking a headache. But will the Holy Emperor do this? According to the understanding of the young Saint Emperor of Tian Tongzhiking, it is innocent, kind, and has an idealist side. It is basically impossible for a Saint Emperor who has the appearance of a wise ruler to suddenly change to be a tyrant. Perhaps, in the future, after various temperings, this Holy Emperor will become cruel and his behavior will be more in line with a monarch. But now, the Holy Emperor is just a somewhat innocent girl. Tian Tongzhiking resigned from his position as assistant officer, and a black-gloved confidant died under his command. Without the constraints of the assistant officials, the Holy Emperor gained greater power. At the same time, people around him who were unwilling to do so were also discovered, and the captain of the guard, Bao Yiizhou, was removed from his post. It seems that the Holy Emperor has taken advantage of it, but in fact it is not. Because, in order to prevent Scorpio from arriving in Tokyo Bay, those dead self-defense force soldiers need an explanation. Zhang is still old. Although Tian Tongzhiking resigned, it is equivalent to leaving. The Holy Emperor who takes over the greater power must face the problems of pension and explanation. It's okay to say the pension, but it's easy to explain the people who died in a battle with Scorpio, but how should those who were killed by Broly? To be honest, it definitely won't work. We need someone responsible for this battle. Tentoki said even more. There is no clue, Tian Tong's assistant officer resigned from his position again. Who else can be responsible except me? The Holy Emperor smiled bitterly. No, there are still clues. Where? Lisa Shadow Yin, the other party who seized the 7-star relics, is not dead yet. This is another way for the black long straight girl to think of. Will he be willing to explain, or can we catch each other? The more detailed battle situation on the front line has been reported, and the police troops who went to capture Leech Ziyingyan lost most of the losses. If Broly and Scorpio are excluded, Lisa Shadow Yin may be the most eye-catching supervillain in this battle. That guy is not a complete madman, and it may not be impossible to discuss giving appropriate conditions. Tian Toki didn't even talk about catching the other party, but said. When Rishi saw Rentaro receiving a call from Tentokiyo again, he learned that the president's sister was looking for Hinako Yingyan. His expression was a bit ache. The masked male bastard had already run away. Now where is he going to find someone? Do you shout here? It's probably not as loud as the Scorpio who whimpered there. Okay, that person can't be found and put aside first. Ask Broly to see if he can let Scorpio leave Tokyo Bay first. Tentoki also heard that Liko Kyoto was not disappointed when she left, so she turned to see Rentaro sending Broly. Let Scorpio leave Tokyo Bay. Broly answered the phone and learned what the other side meant. After thinking about it, he flew up and asked Scorpio what he meant. Unfortunately, Scorpios don't seem to understand human words. Although he did not attack Broly, he also turned a deaf ear to his inquiries. Sorry, Scorpio seems to want to stay here. Broly, can you think of a solution? It's night now, and there are few people who can see Scorpio, but tomorrow morning, if Scorpio is still in Tokyo Bay, with the other party's huge size, it will definitely be seen by many people, which may cause great panic in the entire Tokyo security zone. The Holy Emperor asked. Broly thought about it and decided to move Scorpio. But Scorpio is too serious. Even Saiyans cannot do it if they want to move Scorpio away without hurting the other party. Unless you push the wave, but push the wave can easily hurt Scorpio. I can't move Scorpio away, but it's not easy to avoid panic. Hey, do you have a way? Certainly. Can you tell me? In the morning, when the people in the Tokyo area got up, they received an emergency news report. Last night, Scorpio suddenly appeared on the coast of Tokyo Bay. With the struggle of the Self-Defense Force Navy at the sacrifice of the Third Fleet, we successfully anesthetized Scorpio in the old port area of Tokyo Bay. This is a victory for mankind. We have successfully resisted a natural disaster-level gastrula animal like Scorpio before the mass extinction event. This is the news. If you say that Scorpio stops and does not get close to Tokyo's safe zone, then people in Tokyo will definitely be in a big panic. But if this is the result of the blocking that the Self-Defense Force paid a heavy price to achieve, although people are still a little frightened, they believe that the Self-Defense Force in the Tokyo security zone will definitely be able to continue to block the big monster in the horizon and arrive at the current security zone. I'm sorry for your fault for betraying the identity of a villain. Broly stroked the big head of the Scorpio under him, and a small tentacle grew from the Scorpio's head below him, surrounding his hand. Hey, Broly, you finally opened in a new world. Have you found a new member? At the same time, the group chat room also began to become lively. Among the official members of the Crystal Palace, Scorpio was noticed by other wives who got up. Scorpio, what a strange name. This should be the code name. Newcomers are welcome. The group chat room was very enthusiastic and welcomed the new members. But why are the newcomers so cold and don't speak? Are they not happy points sending messages in the group chat room? Akia asked. There are happy points. Broly answered quickly. Although it was a 0 happiness value when it was agreed, there was number 1 to 100 conversion. But last night, Scorpio still produced some happiness points. Why don't you talk? Do you don't like to communicate with seniors like me? Broly, tell her that I am your favorite master, so she must respect me in the future, do you know? Here, come, this guy Akia is new to Pua again. Master Akia, this is not the case, it's just that Scorpio is more special. Ha, no matter how special it is, Broly, I tell you that no one can be special in front of me. Well, let's Yaotian get a photo first, and then talk about how many happiness points are. Let me understand the strength of this new joiner. Akia said so. Broly had no choice but to use the group chat room to take a photo of himself and Scorpio and post it to the group chat room. Broly, why are you posting your own photos? After seeing the boy's photo, Akia was a little puzzled. No, the one behind me is Scorpio. Broly explained. The group chat room was silent for a while, followed by a series of tone and question marks. No, I asked you to find some stronger newcomers, but did you find a non-human demon species? Jipril started to complain. No one is not human, but he does look very strong. Ests was eager to try. But with this size, can she enter the Crystal Palace? A group of wives were in the group chat room, and most of them were complaining about the situation of Scorpio. However, there are some wives in front of the doll, goddess wife, Tianyi plant wife, forest spirit plant wife, Digimon wife, there are so many wives in front of you. There is another big monster wife. Although the other party is not a human figure, it is not unacceptable. The only problem is that Scorpio does not seem to have the higher wisdom to communicate with people. After learning that Scorpio joined the Crystal Palace, the other people in the other world guides who had previously refused Broly's invitation suddenly changed their minds and expressed their willingness to agree to join the Crystal Palace. The people in the Crystal Palace became a little angry. What a snobbish local bun in another world. Damn it, you dare to reject my cute disciples. Humph, when they come in the future, they will definitely wear their little shoes. Akia spoke angrily, showing her evil mother-in-law's attitude to try to get rid of her new wife. Chapter 403. Do you want Scorpio to become human? They probably won't come in. Broly replied to my master. What, do those local buns dare to go back on their word? Akia, who was speaking in the group chat room of the heaven world and was guiding the rebirth of the dead souls on the other side, immediately jumped up from the main god's seat. The little soul opposite was startled and looked at the goddess who claimed to be the great lord of the water in front of her, with her nervous and angry expression. It's not like that. Their request is to let me ensure the safety of the Tokyo area, but Scorpio does not mean to go to the Tokyo area. In other words, the place doesn't need me to ensure safety at all, so I and them have not reached a real deal, so. Damn, Broly, you are really a child with a solid mind. In this case, you should pretend not to know, grab the deal and force the good wife, and threaten those local buns in another world to join your crystal palace and become your wife. Seeing this, Akiya sat back again. She was speechless. Why was her disciple so unrestrained? She immediately educated her disciples in the group chat room. And she was still complaining, the little girl opposite. She seemed to hear something amazing. By the way, do you want to go to heaven or reincarnate? At this time, Akiya noticed the expression of the girl opposite, and then remembered her job and asked. Which one is better? Of course it's reincarnation. I'll tell you, heaven is extremely boring. There is no body and only soul left. Even color cannot be used. On the contrary, reincarnation can bring about a wonderful life. Before Akiya could finish her words, she heard the little girl opposite him say quickly, I choose heaven. Hey, haven't you heard me? No, I just want to go to heaven. The girl who passed away due to an accident, but chose to donate organs to save others while she was dying in the hospital. Then the girl who came to Akiya to report said firmly. Who knows whether reincarnation will be forced to be a wife and marry someone you don't know as a wife. Okay, the gate of heaven, open. Akiya used divine power to summon the gate of heaven, and an angel descended from the sky. Then, this cute little lady, come with me to the heavenly realm. The melon is not sweet. Broly replied to his master's words. But quench your thirst, look at Eris. She is not happy now that she can work and chat every day and will not be discovered. Eris didn't expect that he would be mentioned, and he didn't expect that Senior Akiya was so straightforward. He pointed out that he was slapping fish, but sent out a panicked Q version emoticon package, which were all emoticon package conversion functions included in the group chat room. Eris is different. Before she promised to be my wife, she had many happiness values. She said it was a forced twist, but in fact she was willing to do so. But the world I am in is different now. Although those people have happiness values, they don't have much value. I also saw that not long after they expressed their willingness to agree, the happiness values dropped a little. In fact, the Holy Emperor was just worried about the aftermath. Tian Tongmu found that the Tian Tong family could not be defeated. Qian Shaoxiashi discovered the body of Yuxiang General Prison. Although the other party started one by one, it was a tool, but he was not bad to her. He did not beat her and scold her, and never lacked food and clothing. She felt sad because of the other party's death. This only requires some training. Broly, don't you know how to use the best of your fingers? Use this trick to make those people feel happy. Let them succumb to physical happiness, become slaves on your fingertips, and become those who cannot survive without your caress. Warning, please pay attention to your speech, the host is not yet 18 years old. Isn't it sex? Miss Butterfly was banned, and the unblocking time was 1 hour, 59 minutes, and 58 seconds. Mellard. This damn Crystal Palace minor health system, only Ests had violated the bad hot spring photos once before, but since she joined Crystal Palace, she has been banned many times because of her unremarkable driving in the group chat room. They are not enemies and are not suitable for the Pure Land. Broly answered seriously. Ha, I think this is good, those guys who emotionally hurt Broly are not qualified to join us at all. Sink Nilbalian made his own remarks, and in his heart he was mocking the local dumplings in another world who had never met. They didn't know what they had rejected, that was the right to influence the direction of the world by Broly and Saiyans. The words of the Mori Jingnang attracted the approval of other wives. Members of the Crystal Palace should rather be insignificant than indiscriminate, and those here should really like Broly. As for the efforts of the X-District production machine that is not honest and brings people in, and is the only one who is lower than the happiness points, to be honest, not all the official members of the Crystal Palace accept this. I'm just talking about it. Akiya thought about it and felt that it made some sense, so she changed her tone. You don't want bad girls, but don't let go of those good girls who are interesting to you. You should pull them in even if you use strong ones. Akiya added. Broly sent an okay expression and then said, in fact, I am not without gains. A girl also expressed her willingness to agree to join. I don't need to ensure the safety of Tokyo district or something. Broly refers to the leech, Bina. The girl wants Broly Lee taught herself to release energy bombs, so Broly taught her to practice Kikwan and got the promise of the other party to come and promise to become his wife whenever she can emit energy bombs. You're not going to be voted out of stock, right? Akia was a little suspicious that her honest disciple was too easy to take advantage of. It's possible. Huai agreed, and she was the former vacancies monster. But later I realized the reality and paid the money. Probably not. Broly thought of Lan Yuan Yansu. The girl also shouted last night to learn flash magic, and then followed Libido Xiaobina to learn Kikwan with her, but Lan Yuan Yansu did not make any decent promises, although her happiness value has increased a lot. Now, Lan Yuan Yansu should have gone home to sleep, and she probably asked for leave from the school today. I have issued a ban on the military side, but there are too many people who know about this, and some news will inevitably spread. The girl, the saint, was a little tired, and had dark circles on both eyes. Then we'll confuse the public. I happened to catch a group of guys who were engaging in public opinion last night. Tian Toki even suggested. Tian Tongzhen is dead. The group of public opinion leaders who were arrested last night were useless, but now they can use the waste. I believe that as long as we agree on the conditions and accept those people to do things, in the near future, all kinds of bizarre news will fly all over the world in Tokyo. At that time, even if someone shows up and says that Broly destroyed the Third Navy Fleet, no one will believe it. In this way, the possibility of Tokyo District and the encounter with Broly is avoided. Miss Mu Geng, you are indeed a talented person. The solution I proposed is not the right way. But it sounds useful. The girl Saint Emperor and Tian Toki smiled even more. After what happened last night, they became closer. However, the news of Broly's destruction of the Third Fleet can be controlled, but Scorpio is still there. Even if the explanation is given, the people will still panic. If they are used by those who are interested, it may be a problem. The girl Saint Emperor did not mention who the person who was interested, but this kind of thing really had to be guarded against. If someone used panic to stir up public opinion in the Tokyo security zone, it would be troublesome. Broly attaches great importance to Scorpio. He will not hurt Scorpio, nor will he allow others to hurt Scorpio. Therefore, we need an expert who is sufficiently familiar with gastrula animals to figure out why Scorpio stays in Tokyo Bay. Do you have the right candidate? Have. Who? Dr. Miroto. Muto Sumiya? I seem to have an impression of this name. 22 rounds. Tian Toki even reminded him. After getting the stage 4 of living, Miroto Sumiya was a little excited and did 18 hours of research. Just as she was about to rest, the knock on the door interrupted her behavior of lying down on the hospital bed. The female doctor in a white coat hung glucose with her left hand to open the door, and she saw a little tired boy. Li Jian, why are you like me, looking like you are not sleeping? Because I really didn't sleep. Dr. Miroto, the Holy Emperor summons you. Is there anything wrong with it so suddenly? Let's talk about it when you get in the car. There was a black car parked outside, who came to pick up Sumiko Miroto. After the female doctor got into the car with a glucose drip bottle, Rishi Taro told her about some of the things that happened last night, including that he revealed to Tentoki that Sumizuki was also Broly's guide. Is so much happening last night? That child Broly is so powerful. Miroto Sumiya was a little surprised. She had been staying in the laboratory last night, turning a blind eye to the movements outside. You don't know such a big noise at all. In a sense, it's amazing. When Rentaro complained, he felt that the female doctor with a more depressed temperament in front of him died in the laboratory one day and became a dry bone, but was not surprising. I won't talk about this anymore. Does the Holy Emperor want me to study Scorpio? To be precise, I want you to figure out why Scorpio stays in Tokyo Bay. In the Holy Residence, the Holy Emperor explained the content of the entrustment to the exhausted but full of energy in Miroto. Then I need more information about Scorpio. Miroto Sumiya also made a request. That's all the information contained in it. The Holy Emperor had expected that someone would take a computer tablet. Sure enough. Sumi Miroto turned on the tablet, swiped to look at the information about Scorpio, and then showed a sudden expression. This information is top secret, I hope you can keep it confidential and not disclose any information to the public. The young Saint Emperor looked at the female doctor's appearance and couldn't help but remind him. Is it okay to tell Broly that child? Asked Miroto Sumiya. He can, but others can't. If these things are leaked, they will have an impact on the new method of the original gastrulation. The new method of the original gastrulation is the basic basis that the girl Saint Emperor insists on, and she does not want to be affected by a piece of information. Sumi Miroto agreed and proposed to ask the Holy Emperor to find a helicopter and send him to Scorpio. Dr. Miroto Sumi, don't you take a break? You look very tired. The Holy Emperor was a little worried about the state of this decadent female doctor. It's okay, I used to not sleep for 2 days and 2 nights, giving others the energy to perform surgery. Miroto said, patting his chest. That's okay. The helicopter propeller flew to Tokyo Bay with Miroto Sumiya. Rishiki Rentaro followed him, and the pilot breathed rapidly and his expression became terrified after the helicopter gradually approached the tentacle of the Montenegro, Scorpio, there. Just fall on the edge of the old port area, you don't have to fly over in a helicopter. Rishimi Rentaro comforted the driver. Then I'll wait for you here. The helicopter pilot felt relieved and said to the two after they landed. The body of a police officer in Sanyi office was discovered. The landing of Scorpio makes many terrestrial gastrointestinal animals dare not get close to here. Humans were careful and started search and rescue work near the old port district last night. Many seriously injured police officers were rescued, but more of them were the bodies of the promoters and the initiators. Near the church where Scorpio is located, no one dares to get close to that side. Broly, I brought you breakfast. Rishiki Rentaro took Miroto Sumizu, and after approaching a certain range, he raised the bag in his hand and shouted toward Scorpio's head. The boy who heard the sound flew down, took the breakfast from the boy's hand, and thanked Rentaro Rimi. Dr. Miroto, why are you here? Come and see you. That being said, but the female doctor's footsteps are approaching Scorpio. Unlike the fear shown by others, the other person's eyes are full of enthusiasm. The hand with white gloves touched Scorpio without hesitation. By the way, I received a commission to figure out why Scorpio stayed in Tokyo Bay. She added, and her hands squeezed Scorpio's flesh hard. What are you doing? Broly asked, wondering what she was doing. I want to know how strong the other party's muscles are when supporting such a large body as Scorpio on land. Sumiko Miroto replied Shimasato. How strong is it? Rimi Rentaro asked subconsciously. Judged from the touch, it should be above the hammer dragon in stage 4. The smooth texture of the skin is probably slipped away when it hits, but the specific muscle strength needs to be studied in depth. The female doctor took out the scalpel, but when she came, she brought some guys. You want to hurt Scorpio? Broly immediately dropped the breakfast and flew over to catch the female doctor's hand that was about to be cut. You've grabbed me and hurt me. Broly Matsu grabbed the strength of Miroto Sumiya's wrist, but did not let go. I'm just going to cut the body tissue on her body and study it, and this behavior will not cause harm to the huge Scorpio. Sumika Miroto explained, but Broly did not let go. Okay, I heard that she promised to be your wife, what if I promise to be your wife too? Broly frowned and looked at Miroto Sumiya, not feeling happy about her words. I have discussed it with other official members of the Crystal Palace. I would rather have nothing than be too bad when inviting newcomers to join the Crystal Palace. Dr. Miroto, although your attitude towards me is pretty good, if you want to attack Scorpio with this condition, I will reject you and may beat you up. Broly raised his small fist seriously. It's really troublesome. Sumi Miroto raised his other hand and rubbed his somewhat messy head. After thinking about it, he asked the Saiyan boy in front of him, do you want Scorpio to regain rationality, or even become human? Broly and Rimi Rentaro made a surprised voice together. Chapter 404 Full Comprehension Ability. The Great Black Mountain in front of us is really hard to relate to humans, but the 7-star relic is a pink bicycle. The cursed sun will become a gastrula animal because the erosion rate of enterovirus in the body exceeds 50%, so it becomes a gastrula animal. The predecessor of Scorpio actually has the answer. Is she the cursed sun? Rimi Rentaro asked. It's still the earliest batch. Sumi Miroto nodded. So, do you have a way to turn Scorpio back into humanity? Broly asked. No, I can't do anything. At present, infected with enterovirus is equivalent to having an incurable disease. There is no complete treatment method. The cursed sun can only rely on inhibitors to inhibit the erosion rate of enterovirus in the body. Then what you said, let Scorpio return to rationality and become human. There is a possibility, but it still needs research, and I am planning to do that. Broly. The relationship is good, and this person says so much, just to draw a cake for him. The purpose is to study Scorpio. I'm not fooling you. The 7-star relics are things from Scorpio as humans, and being able to be attracted by things from her humans proves that there is probably a human nature in the body. This is something that Miroto Sumiya has been guessing, but unfortunately other gastrula animals did not respond to this, but Scorpio in stage 5 has this characteristic. Dr. Miroto, are you talking about the human consciousness in Scorpio's body? Rimi Rentaro asked. The animalization of gastrulation is the result of the gastrulation virus, but from the perspective of life, the animalization of gastrulation is not dead, but the life form has changed. If humans themselves have racial concepts, the animalization of the gastrulation can even be regarded as an evolution at the level of life. Can this be called evolution if you lose your reason and wisdom? Rentaro Sato was not very able to accept Miroto Sumiya's statement. Ricky, Broly, do you know where the enterovirus comes from? The female doctor asked. I'm not from this world, how could I know? Broly shook his head. Where did it come from? Rentaro Sato directly asked. These were things that were not mentioned in the book. Before this, I just speculated. But the information given to me by the Holy Emperor today has confirmed the speculation. Enterovirus is something that humans themselves produce. This answer is not unexpected. Dr. Miroto, are you saying that someone has developed the enterovirus and used it to destroy the world that once was? I don't know this, but what is certain is that enterovirus was not a so-called virus at the beginning, but a beneficial bacteria. Humans discovered this special bacteria on an ancient female corpse and discovered its benefits to human beings themselves, and then developed and researched. The original purpose was to create a panacea. Think about it, all kinds of severe diseases in the old era, whether they were congenital heart disease, leukemia, or genetic diseases, could achieve the cure without medicine by just one injection of medicine. At the same time, the drug can also allow the injector to break through the upper limit of the original number of cell divisions in the body, thereby achieving the effect of extending life. How crazy this kind of thing will make people. Before the war, Kixing village was built from this, representing the desire of powerful people from all over the world in the old era for health and longevity. I didn't see the effect you mentioned, but I saw the madness. This world is destroyed and there are dangerous gastrula animals everywhere in the wild. Rimi Rentaro said with a fist clenched. This truth is difficult for all middle and lower classes to accept, because they cannot enjoy the benefits of cutting-edge biotechnology, but they have to bear the risk of destroying their originally peaceful life after the outbreak of this biotechnology. The world's population once had more than 6 billion people, and now it has become 750 million people, which is what has happened. Humans are trying to explore the mystery of life and randomly interfere in the realm of God. Now that the world has become like this, it may be considered a kind of retribution, but what we are going to discuss is not this. Looking forward, the gastrovirus turns humans into gastroenter animals, so why can't the gastroenter animals be turned into gastroenter animals and turn them back into humans? How long will it take and when will the results be achieved? Broly asked directly. This, Broly, you are not a researcher, so you may not know that many scientific research findings are accidental. To put it bluntly, you are not sure how long it will take to turn people who have become animals in the stomach back into humans, right? Broly asked with a focus. Yes. Sumi Miroto cannot deny this. But without research, there is no even a weak possibility of turning back into humans. The female doctor added another sentence. Broly, you don't miss your wife either. You have always been a big monster with irrationality, right? I don't mind this. I also have friends with big monsters on Wampa Star. Broly refers to Baya and Scorpio, and Baya give Broly a bit the same feeling, and it is not that he cannot get along with each other. Suzumi Miroto and Rentaro Rimi. This answer is indeed unexpected, but it seems that it is not too surprising. However, if you are rational, you should be able to communicate better and feel happier. Broly said again. Well, Broly, do you mean to agree with me to study Scorpio? Miroto asked with his eyes lit up. No, I decided to find my master to solve this problem. But Broly denied her words. Hey, Broly, you have a master? No, is your master also a biotechnology researcher? Rimi Rentaro asked curiously. No, she is a real goddess, in another world, and she has a powerful ability to purify abnormal states. Well, didn't you say that the world has become like this because humans intervened in the realm of God? Then I will ask my goddess master to come directly. There is no problem. Rentaro Rimi. The Saiyan boy's understanding ability is really full. You actually have such connections. Sumi Miroto was a little surprised, but said quickly. At that time, can you let your goddess master draw 2 tubes of blood for me to study? Miroto Sumiya did not doubt Broly's words, but became directly interested in the goddess master mentioned by the boy. Dr. Miroto, I suddenly feel that the world will become like this, and it has nothing to do with the existence of a quarrel like you. Rishi saw Rentaro holding a pair of dead fish eyes and complaining directly to the female doctor in the white coat. Ahahaha, I'm just kidding, if I don't want to. That being said, Miroto Sumiya looked at Broly. Even if Master Akiya is willing to draw blood for you, you probably won't be able to figure it out. Broly thought about it and answered her. Are you worried that the biological research technology in our world will not be up to standard? As soon as Miroto heard that there was a show, he asked quickly. No, but my master is the goddess of water. Her body fluids are basically in a state of clear water. If you insist on saying that you can extract something, the probability of extracting clean water containing alcohol will be a little higher. Broly told the truth. Sumi Miroto. Rentaro Sato was imagining the image of the goddess of water who could pull out alcohol from his body. A bottle with a small mouth, a large body, and a water-stuffed wine bottle? Haha, how is this kind of existence possible? Well, Rentaro Rimi looked at the Scorpio who looked like Dark Mountain next to him, and suddenly felt that such a goddess was also possible. Osni. Akiya sneezes and wipes her nose with a tissue, she receives a message from her cute disciple. Yet, Xiao Tian turned out to be a human before? No problem. Since she has joined the Crystal Palace, I must take care of my younger generation. However, the toll and stranding fees of 6,000 happiness points are a bit expensive. What? Crystal Palace supports payment function. Broly, do you have to cover the travel fee? Damn it, a mere later person actually made you pay. What, are you actually trying to take the opportunity to meet me, master? Haha, have you heard it? Did you hear it? I am indeed Broly. Akiya's proud and show-off speech is omitted here. Only then did Broly get the promise that his master was willing to come and help. However, I have to wait until Akiya gets off work. As for when will the Great Water Lord get off work? Well, there is still half a day left, but this is the heavenly time of Siking's world. If it is converted to the time in the Dark Bullet world, it will take another 4 days. Then I won't slice her body tissue, can I just smoke her blood? With Miroto's slutty face and swearing that he would never cause any harm to Scorpio, Broly let go of this person and let the female doctor successfully pull a tube of purple-black blood from Scorpio's body. How should the Holy Emperor report? On the way back, Rishikan Rentaro asked her. How else do you report? Scorpio obviously takes the place where the 7-star relics are in charge. Anyway, Broly is watching by Scorpio, there should be nothing wrong. Just report it like this. Sumi Miroto yawned a big yawn. She urgently needed to go back and have a sleep, but before that, she had to preserve the blood of Scorpio in stage 5. Hey, I promised to be Broly's wife before I knew it. Miroto Sumiya felt a little depressed when she thought about joining Crystal Palace, but Broly refused directly and said she would wait for his goddess master to come and test her before deciding whether to invite her or not. Dr. Miroto, didn't you say before that you can still remember your past fiancé? This man has passed away, and the living people have to look forward. Besides, I used to hold hands with him. Is it considered a fiancé who holds hands? This is my parents' decision, and he is a relatively good person among my suitors, and he is a researcher like me. After dying, I have a memory bonus. I always feel that I am a very important person, but in fact, it is that way. Your answer was not the case when Broly changed his words after seeing that he was super powerful, right? Rimi Rentaro was a little suspicious of this. Didn't Broly say that the guide's object has that happiness value? Why don't you change it and ask me how much happiness value is? The situation of Miroto Sumiya is a bit subtle. This person really increases the happiness value for her. This is why Broly is willing to be ordered by her. But this person's attitude towards life is a bit bad. He is obsessed with research on weekdays, but when he is not studying, he looks a bit frivolous, and he feels like a master who doesn't see a rabbit or a hawk. It also makes people feel that she is a bit unreliable, like a guy fishing for a tilted mouth. However, as the guide object whose happiness value is second only to the unscheduled object, Azusa Miroto is still very grateful to the Scion boy who has been coming to the institute to help do research these days. Even if Broly looked bigger and asked her to sleep together, Sumiya Miroto might give her the first time she had been kept for 26 years. According to her, a strange person like her who likes to contact corpses will probably not be of a man in the future. Of course, some people may want her body because they have a good skin, but instead of giving it to someone who doesn't know or covet her beauty, it is better to give it to someone who is familiar with you and who is not disgusted with you. Did Scorpio take the old port area of Tokyo Bay? Yes. Will you rush over to the Tokyo security zone? It shouldn't be there, even if it does, Broly is there. All right. The Holy Emperor could only accept this result. Just as he was about to ask someone to come and increase the supervision of public opinion, Rentaro added. And 4 days later, the Scorpio thing should have a result. Hey, what's the result? The Holy Emperor is not sure about this, and Rentaro Sato said that Scorpio might be restored to humanity. What, Dr. Miroto, has the study of enterovirus been studied to this extent? The girl, the Holy Emperor, was shocked, and his face immediately showed joy. Because of this, the fear brought by the enterovirus will be completely shattered. The so-called cursed sons will be just some children with illness, not some alien. Well, it's not that Dr. Miroto has any research results, but that Broly's master is coming. Broly's master? Yes, and his master, I heard that he is a real goddess. At the same time, he is also one of Broly's wives, and he also serves as the test of whether you can become Broly's wives and officially join the Crystal Palace Examiner. Ah! A surprised expression appeared on the face of the girl Saint Emperor. And this expression was similar to when the boy heard this from Broly. It's all that I complain too much and I don't know how to vomit for a while. Where is Broly? In the afternoon, Lan Yuan Yanzu got up and found that there was no boy at home. She ran into the room and pushed the boy sleeping in the quilt and asked. Broly is in Scorpio and hasn't been back in the past few days. Let me sleep for a while. Rikiki answered in a daze and then fell asleep. Chapter 405 5 million becomes 50 million, and 5 million becomes 5 million. On the third day of Scorpio landing, thanks to the timely control of public opinion by the Holy Emperor, there was no big panic in Tokyo. However, this is only a temporary situation. As long as Scorpio in the old port district of Tokyo Bay is still there for 1 day, it will be like a mountain, weighing on the hearts of the Tokyo people. And repression will make people express emotions on the internet. Broly sat cross-legged on Scorpio's head, holding his laptop, and arguing with people on the internet. No one questioned anything about the official announcement of Tokyo District. Scorpios were anesthetized in the old port district, but not many people believed it. Many netizens with IP in Tokyo believe that the Great Montenegro standing in the old port district of Tokyo Bay is a time bomb that can explode at any time, causing countless deaths. They believe that the official should remove this dangerous bomb as soon as possible. Broly held the opposite view, believing that Scorpio was safe and that he just wanted to get back what he had been during his time as a human being, and there would be no danger. Therefore, he was criticized. Brother kid, although I really want to stand on your side, this time it really doesn't work. Why? Because I live in Tokyo Security Zone. If the big guy from the old port area in Tokyo Bay really goes wild, my whole family will probably have to finish playing. It's one thing to stand the son of curse, but what the hell is the stool animals? Are you a fan of the stool animals, and are the cultists who worship the stool animals as gods? There were many sarcastic speeches below, but this time Broly did not scold anyone, but just calmly typed to comfort a group of panicked people on the internet. I know you are scared because of your weakness, but it doesn't matter. I'm watching Scorpio from the old port area of Tokyo Bay. If she wants to break into the safe zone, I will stop her. This is something that the Holy Emperor had agreed to, but this kind of speech received countless ellipses on the internet, representing the speaker's speechless reply. Brother child, are you going to be a scene black again? After a while, someone replied. Humph, if a little kid like child, if I encounter it in reality, I'm afraid he'll slap him twice, and he will cry and call me dad. Broly. You are from above, you are not afraid of the children shooting online and scolding your whole family to death. I have to admit that this little brat may have unparalleled combat power on the internet, but in reality, it still needs to be practiced. As long as he dares to scold me, I will dare to block him immediately. As long as I can't see what he scolds me, it means I'm not scolded. Broly. I just think there are really everyone on the internet. Okay, everyone, the kid is only 13 years old and is still young, so it is normal to have some unrealistic fantasies. Think about it, at our age, aren't we also full of unrealistic fantasies of being a world hero and a savior? At that time, it was still in the pre-war era, but now, after the war, it is rare and precious for the little boy to have such a secondary fantasy. We should protect his fantasy. There is a netizen who recalled the past and broke the defenses and thought of the peaceful era without Gastrola, an ordinary life. But it is so attractive to people nowadays. There are no professional online gangsters who are hired to set the pace. Although there are still many people with Black Broly, more of them are those who have fans of him in the previous verbal battle. Brother child, I believe you. If Scorpio really goes wild, you will be able to protect our dream of protecting the heroic dream of being the second best in the middle of the year. Yes, your future will definitely be the savior of this world. When you embark on the journey of saving the world, I will hand over the best novice sword to you, with a fruit knife that cuts fruits, to help you save the world and defeat the most evil devil in this world. No one believed Broly's words, and when everyone regarded his speech as a pleasure, and when public opinion was occasionally biased towards the positive and recalled the fantasies of the second-year peace era, some of the beauty of the peace era that could make people make good speeches. In the era of being plundered, the remarks of protecting the second-year fantasy of the little boy are not just about remembrance of the world of the past peace era. This wind of remembrance blew on the internet, but Broly didn't understand the jokes. He only thought that what those people said was true, but he replied seriously. I will protect you. In addition, I won't need a fruit knife from Building X, I can just use my hands. The serious reply made many netizens smile knowingly. The tense atmosphere of online public opinion was relieved by Broly, the child. However, the undercurrent of public opinion is still surging in places that cannot be seen. In the Tiantong family, although Tiantong Jushikeng has resigned from his position as an assistant official, the Tiantong family has cultivated its connections over the years, and the family's influence in Tokyo cannot be ignored. Bang! Baiao Zhou slapped the table, glared at the old man opposite and shouted, Hisser Jushikeng, don't forget, I was removed from my post by the Holy Emperor for your family. Of course, our Tiantong family will naturally not forget your help, but I have resigned after all, and I am powerless in terms of your transfer. The old man nodded first to agree with the other party's words, but he gave a rejection reply to the man's request for gratitude. I can't help with my transfer. That day, the Tong family should have given me enough money, right? Baiao Zhou took a deep breath and said, Xiao Wei Zhou took a deep breath and settled for the next best. How much do you want? The scoundrel opened his palms and showed 5 more. 5 million, the position of captain of the guard team is worth this price. He said. Too many, you were transferred to the army just for a regular post, and it was not completely removed from office. Is the personal guards around the Holy Emperor the same as the ordinary third lieutenant of the army? You are right, but I can give you another choice, 50 million, and give you a promise. What promise? When I reopen you on the day I will redirect you. Tiantong Jushikeng reissue, Baobu's Warren thought about it, and then agreed. He knew the power of the Tiantong family, and it would not rise again in the future if it loses its power. It is better to get a promise than to just get a money. I will have someone send you money after that. I wish you, Mr. Ju's Hishan, will get back up soon. If there is something to do in Tiantong's family in the future, I will never refuse. After receiving the promise, Wu Zhouren left with satisfaction. After he left, Tiantong Jushikeng recruited his grandson Tiantong Nguang. This person is Tetsuki Kyoji's brother and is the current deputy minister of the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport in Tokyo. Grandfather. Tiantong and Guang walked into the room and were sitting in front of Tiantong Jushikeng. The old man told this grandson, who is currently in the family, that he had the highest power and status, about giving money to protect Zhou Ren. Why give that guy who is worthless? Tiantong and Guang, wearing glasses, frowned. Grandpa, you resigned. Tiantong's family will have a lot of money to spend in the future. Although 50 million is not a lot, it is better to use it in other places when it is used on that person. Tian Tong and Guang did not think that a guy who was no longer the captain of the guard team beside the Holy Emperor was worthy of the Tian Tong family to use 50 million to maintain the relationship. It is precisely because of this time that you need to do this. Anyone who contributes to my Tian Tong family will be rewarded. Tian Tong Juzhiking looked at his grandson with some disappointment. In terms of wisdom and vision, Tian Tong and Guang were not as good as his sister, but unfortunately, his granddaughter was already strangers to the family. Okay, Grandpa, I will do this. Although Tian Tong and Guang did not care about it and did not think that the Tian Tong family still needed to use this method to stabilize people's hearts, they still agreed on it on the surface. When he left the door, he ordered the female secretary beside him to send him 5 million to protect Zhou Ren. Didn't Lord Zhu's Heshin say 50 million? Shina Kazumi was a little confused and couldn't help asking. The old man still likes to invite people to buy hearts, but according to my opinion, 5 million is enough to make a mere third army officer grateful. If the guardian Zhou was still the captain of the guards beside the Holy Emperor, it would still be worth 50 million, but now he has been transferred back to the army to be the captain of the officers, and 5 million is a high price. Do you need to report to Lord Zhu's Heshin? Report to the old man, how can I eat 45 million? Are you my man or my grandfather's? It's your person. B. Good, I will give you 5 million in the future. The female secretary was helpless and could only transfer money. Haha, the money is coming. In the afternoon, Bao Buswo received a text message from the bank account. Originally, he was very happy. But after counting the money that was paid, I suddenly felt a little bad. Bao Ei's Warren quickly called and asked if the party who made the money had missed one-digit number. After learning that it was 5 million, it was only instructed by Tian Tong and Guang. BA. The phone was thrown out by this man and smashed it on the floor and turned into rags. Tian Tong's family dares to bully me like this. After raising 500 million, the price was bargained to 50 million. By the time I was making money, it shrank to 5 million. Do you really think he is a beggar? Damn it. But if you want to take revenge, you can't do your current identity. Even if Tian Tong Juzhiking is not an assistant official, the power of the Tian Tong family is not something he can easily touch. Bao Yi's Wo people are narrow-minded and furious, but they seem to be incompetent and furious. But suddenly, he saw the existence on the other side of Tokyo Bay on the high building. After a moment of change in eyes, I had an idea. The news has been revealed to Qi Wuzongxian. That guy will not miss this opportunity. Lord Sheng Emperor, although I can't do anything anymore, others will not see such a good opportunity and don't do anything. I think that in the near future, the public opinion crisis in Tokyo district will come. Tian Tong Juzhiking didn't know his grandson's magical kickback operation. He was still thinking about the news he revealed and when it would ferment. However, he deliberately passed the news about Scorpio to the people of the Five Shogun Society, and the president of Osaka region, that Guy Qi Wuzongxian was ambitious and would never miss this opportunity to attack the Tokyo region. What the other party might do? Tian Tong Kikuno-chan has thought about it. It is nothing more than promoting the harm of Scorpio through the secret sun buried in the Tokyo area, creating panic and opening up navigation channels in the Osaka area to extradite middle and upper class people in the Tokyo area. The loss of talents and wealth from all walks of life in Tokyo will bring huge pressure to the Holy Emperor. At that time, whether it is dealing with Scorpio or asking that monster boy to attack Qi Wuzong, the highest cadre of the Five Show Association in Osaka, will be a good thing. Whether Scorpio is dealt with, Qi Wuzongxian is killed, or Monster Boy is killed, it is good news for Tian Tong Juzhiking. By then, someone in Tokyo will need to stand up and clean up the mess, and no one has the ability to clean up the mess than him. Broly, I want to find Lisa Yingyan, do you know where he is? In the evening, Tian Tongmu even found Broly. She had been looking for Lisa Yingyan for a day, but she could not find the other party's trace at all. She wanted to come to the boy to try her luck. What are you looking for the other party? Do you know where the other party is? Broly's answer made Tentoki more aware of something, but he quickly asked. I didn't say I know. Don't worry, I'm not trying to cause trouble for him. In fact, I just want to make a deal with that guy. Can you help me contact him, or bring my phone to the other party? Please, for the steak and pasta I brought. Tian Toki got closer and made a requesting gesture. All right. Broly did not refuse the request of Tian Toki. After all, the girl was the boss who sent him money in this world, and she also changed her mind and intended to become his wife. Of course, the offense and defense are reversed. If you want to become his wife in this world, you have to pass the assessment of Master Akia who comes on vacation. Dong 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 dong. In the outer city, the door of a nuclear power plant was knocked. Who? Lisa Yingyan asked in a low voice. It's me, Broly. After the door was silent for a while, the iron door opened. How did you find it? Lisa Yingyan asked. No one could find his hiding place. I remember the anger between you and Xiaobina, and I came here directly with the anger. Broly told the truth. Okay, do you eat instant noodles? I've already eaten it. It was the steak pasta brought to me by my president. Okay, Xiaobina is in the room next to her, practicing the strange boxing techniques you taught her. I'm not looking for her, I'm looking for you. Look for me. Lisa Yingyan was a little surprised. What are you asking me for? It's not that I want to find you, it's that my president is looking for you, she wants to make a deal with you. Broly handed over the backup mobile phone of Tian Toki. Is that old guy's granddaughter? Lisa Yingyan thought about it and found it interesting, so he took the phone. There is no positioning on the phone, it's still sincere. After checking his cell phone, Lisa Yingyan said, and then called the only phone number recorded in it. President Tiantong asked me to come and find me, I wonder what it is expensive. After the phone was connected, he asked directly. The only purpose of overthrowing the Tiantong family is torn down. Tian Toki answered even more. You are not Tiantong's family, is it someone? Lisa Yingyan asked curiously. The Tiantong family blocks some of the things I want to do, they are my enemies. Enema, aren't you the one Broly boy wants to get? Isn't it enough to ask him to help you kill the enemy? Some things have to be done by yourself to make sense. For example, avenge your dead parents. Interesting, but why should I help you? Chapter 406. Who do you think the new law of the original gastrulation protects? 80 million, this is the reward I can get now. In addition, as long as you are willing to stand up and testify against Tiantong Jezi, take away the 7-star relics and summon Scorpio, and kill many police officers, you will be just an accomplice, not the main culprit. On the surface, although I cannot erase your guilt, I can communicate with the Holy Emperor to revoke his wanted to you in the case of disposal. Tiantong Mu is even more sincere. If he had been a normal criminal, he might have agreed and take the opportunity to whitewash his identity. However, Lisa Yingyan is not a normal person. He has his own set of logic, but he can't help laughing, ha ha ha. What are you laughing at? Do you think the price is not enough? I laughed not because I thought the price you offered was not enough, but because I laughed at myself as a person who cared about money and wanted in the eyes of others. President Tiantong, are you looking down on me? Lisa Yingyan stopped laughing and asked back. The other end of the phone was silent, and after a while, he said, I want to, you may rely on your own ability and don't care about this, but what about money, Lisa Yingyan, aren't you doing things for the person behind you, Tiantong Jezhikeng? Don't have to make a trap for me, and what a criminal said in the phone communication may not be used as evidence to defeat that guy named Tiantong Jezhikeng. Tentoki, who has the recording function on. In addition, I do things for others, but it doesn't require money. If I want money, wouldn't it be better for me to rob a bank cash truck? Then what are you doing? It just happens that what the other party wants to achieve is also the result I want to see. The answer of the leech, Yingyan, made Tiantong Mu even more thinking. Endangering Tokyo's safe zone is the result you want to see? No, the purpose of Tiantong Jezhikeng is to stop the implementation of the new method of the original intestine. Therefore, your purpose is to stop the implementation of the new method of sausage, right? The answer is correct, but unfortunately there is no reward. But why? The implementation of the new law of the original gastrulation is to allow the cursed son to obtain the human rights and interests they deserve. Isn't your daughter also a cursed son? Do you not love your daughter at all and don't consider her? Tian Toki asked even more. Ha, although I am a lunatic, I still have some feelings for the only remaining biological daughter. But you, President Tiantong, have you misunderstood something? What did I misunderstand? The role of the new method of gastrulation. What's wrong with this? Who do you think the new law of the original gastrulation is protected? Son of cursed, isn't it? Tian Toki frowned even better, not understanding the meaning of the person on the other end of the phone. Some of them are, but more are vulgar ordinary people who have no powerful power in this world but occupy most of the mainstream society. How do you say this? Think about it, the situation of the cursed son in the past, most of the biological parents choose to abandon them after giving birth to them. When those children have no understanding of the world, they will be punished by the secular world for false guilt. They obviously did not do anything bad, but they will suffer the malice of vulgar people in this world. Of course, since they are still children 10 years after the disaster, they can only passively accept everything the world gives them. However, the cursed son will not always be a child, and some will grow up smoothly. In the next 10 years, they will think and they will have their own ideas about the world. And when the cursed son begins to think, why is the world treating himself so unfairly, guess what will happen? Will those cursed sons who are treated unfairly ask why? Even if it does, will anyone answer them? Even if some people will answer, will those who hurt them on the grounds of the cursed son recognize their mistakes and will no longer continue to hurt the cursed son? The answer is no. And the cursed sons who were hurt again and had grown up, facing ordinary humans who are weaker than themselves and may be able to kill them at will? Back to blood, and to teeth. Tian Toki replied in a lower and deep voice. She already knew what Liko Yingyan meant. Yes, the cursed son will kill ordinary people who hurt themselves, and ordinary people will also hate the cursed son who were regarded as monsters by them as monsters. The conflict between the two will intensify. In the end, the war between the ordinary people and the cursed son will break out, and the old social order will be completely torn apart. Do you think the cursed son can win? I don't know, but as long as ordinary humans can reproduce, the number of cursed sons will always be supplemented. Even if ordinary humans win in the end, they will pay an extremely heavy price, which is probably more than the price paid during the catastrophe. You are such a lunatic. What is the benefit of putting this world into chaos and bringing this world into the abyss? Tentoki couldn't help asking. I don't think the end of chaos is the abyss, on the contrary, I think the end of chaos is the latter. When the war breaks out, goes on and ends, the wrong world will be corrected, everything will be reshuffled in the war, and a new world will be established. Those who survive, whether they are the cursed son, ordinary humans, or transformed people with a new human plan like me, will get the correct identity that corresponds to their own values and strengths and corresponds to the new world. What if the human world is destroyed because of this? That's proven, that's right. Lisa Yingyan is not a madman with an ordinary antisocial personality. On the contrary, he is a paranoid who pursues the realization of his own value and pursues the value of everyone in the world to be reflected, thus trying to change the world. There is a characteristic of this kind of person, that is, before his own beliefs are completely defeated, there is basically no possibility of being convinced by others. Broly, can you catch Lisa Yingyan? Tian Toki had no choice but to shout loudly to the other side of his phone. Broly heard it because his phone was placed on the table with a loudspeaker. Kobina. Just as hesitated, Lisa Yingyan shouted decisively. What's the matter, Dad? Labinika's head was poked out from the room next to him, and his hair was pressed against his forehead due to sweat. Come here and tell Broly, tell him not to catch your dad and me. Little Bina bulged her face, but she still walked to the Saiyan and spoke domineeringly at Broly, I won't allow you to catch my dad. President Tian Tong, have you heard my daughter's words? You are not the only one who can influence Broly boy. Lisa Yingyan said to the other end of the phone. Sorry, Broly, I'm making you embarrassed. Just pretend that I didn't say what I just said and can come back. Tian Tongmu was silent for a while before saying. Broly wanted to respond, but was kept by Lychee Shadow Yinqiang. Don't be so anxious, Xiaobina, don't you think it's boring to practice alone? Broly is here, you can ask him to practice with you. Half an hour later. If you have time, come and see Xiaobina more often, so as to cultivate feelings. My daughter rarely plays with children of similar age. Before Broly left, Lisa Yingyan pulled him and instructed. Woo! Xiaobina pouted, but did not say anything against him. This child is a bit like Ests and Jipril, both of whom like fighting. Broly just practiced with her a little bit, and the Leech Bina increased a lot of happiness and his attitude towards him became much better. When Broly returned to Scorpio, a new guest came to Scorpio. Broly. The new guest was very enthusiastic and greeted the Saiyan boy shaking his hand. What are you here for? Due to the rejection of Lisa Yingyan, Tian Tongmu was in a bad mood. After seeing his mortal enemy, he became even more angry. This is the old port district, not your Tiantong firm. Some people are really in charge of it. Sima Weizi replied sarcastically. Miss Sima, what's the matter with me? Broly was more polite. What's the name for Miss Sima? Just call me Sister Weizi. I'm here to see you and bring some delicious food to my future husband. Sima Weizi smiled like a flower and shook the luxurious lunch box in his hand. Broly has eaten the food I brought. Tian Toki even stopped him in front of the other party and said. I heard that Broly is a child who is very edible. He must not be full of the cheap bento you brought. Oh, wasn't your name Rentaro before? Why did you start calling Rishi so much now? A gentleman does not take away what others like. Although I am not a gentleman but a woman, I do not take away what others like. Miss Mugang, I heard that you and Lee are childhood sweethearts and have a deep relationship since childhood, but I don't know if you have expressed your heart and made a private decision for life. Sima didn't look casual and started asking. Ha, Rentaro and I are just siblings. At present, some are just pure family affection. Some people are not upright and always like to use tinted glasses to guess the pure relationship between others. Tiantong Mu even sarcastically said, and started to compete with Sima Weizi in front of him. The huge change in the attitudes of these two people was just because Broly showed too high value. So much so that when they treat Broly, they can no longer consider issues with their personal feelings. Whether it is Sima Mizi, the daughter of Sima Heavy Industry, or Tian Tong Mugen, the eldest daughter of the Tong family who wants to avenge her parents, these two are both rational figures. Is that true? I misunderstood. Sima Weizi said this and looked at the Saiyan boy. Broly, I heard that your master is coming here, but I don't know what she likes. Hearing this, Tiantong Mu was even more stunned. My master is not an old man. She likes fine wine and also enjoys lively banquets. Broly refuted Sima Weizi's name to her master, but also answered the questions she asked. That's better to prepare. Sima Weizi walked over and spread a picnic mat on the ground, then opened the luxurious lunchbox. By the way, but I don't know what her assessment is for women who want to be your wife. The girl in kimono asked, then picked up a piece of eel sushi and fed it to the boy. This, ahu, I don't know. Broly ate the sushi that Sima Weizi fed and answered the other party's questions to the truth. What assessment? Tian Toki came to the other side and sat down, then asked. Can you join the Crystal Palace's assessment? Broly replied. What, Miss Mugang wants to be his wife, but don't know about this. Sima Weizi became sarcastic as he spoke. It turns out that I have no sincerity. I'm just a little busy and don't pay attention to these things. Broly, can I tell me in detail? You refused to be my wife at the beginning, which made the others in the Crystal Palace, which was already my wife, very dissatisfied. They agreed that not everyone can join the Crystal Palace. Why did you say that? By the way, you ignored me before, and then I have to make you unable to stand up. So, if you want to join Crystal Palace now, you have to undergo the assessment of my master. Only when she thinks you pass can you join. Otherwise, even if you are willing to be my wife now, I can only regret rejecting you. Broly said regret, but in fact he didn't care much. When not considering the acquisition of happiness points, Broly does not care much about the so-called guide object. There is no guide to friendship, and his importance is not even as important as that of the friends he made on the internet. In today's world, Scorpio is undoubtedly ranked first in the ranking of the important people in Broly's mind, followed by Lichibina, and Dr. Miroto Sumiya. Lan Yuan Yanzu misunderstood because of her disagreement. She felt that the other party didn't regard herself as a friend and was currently ranked fourth. As for the guide targets such as Tian Tong Mugen, Sima Weizi, Sheng Emperor, and Qian Shao Zaishi, they are currently ranked fifth because of the lack of intersection time. It is only a little better than the acquaintances you know in this world, or even worse. At least, I spend more time together and I make a lot of delicious food for myself every day. The importance may be above the guide object that has no intersection. Of course, now, Sima Weizi is gaining some favorability from Saiyan boys by feeding food by himself. At night, a small box was placed in front of Tiantong's door. There is a letter on the box, and there is a small USB drive inside. Hitsi Yingyan, what do you mean? After reading the evidence content on the USB flash drive, Tiantong Juzhikeng lost his composure and quickly called to question Lisa Yingyan. It's not interesting, I just want to tell you that the day before yesterday, your granddaughter found me in the afternoon and gave me good conditions. Did you agree? No. Hearing this, Tian Tong Juzhiking breathed a sigh of relief and asked, after obtaining the evidence that I contact you, what do you need me to pay? Don't get me wrong. The reason why I contacted you to let you know this is not to get anything, but just want to know what kind of reaction a person like you will react after knowing that he may be stormed by me at any time and arrested as an anti-human criminal. Ha ha ha, just like that, looking forward to your performance, I'm dead. Tian Tong Juzhiking listened to the beeping sound on the phone, and his whole body was a little bad, and his mentality almost exploded. Unreasonable madman. Tian Tong Juzhiking cursed inwardly, and then called the housekeeper, preparing to leave Tokyo area temporarily. After all, if you are arrested for crimes against humanity, you really have no chance to turn things around. Master, where are you going? The housekeeper asked. Go to Washington, USA. After thinking for a while, Tian Tong Juzhiking said. Tian Tong's family has connections there, and in addition, he himself also has some value. Even if Lisa Yingyan throws the evidence out, he himself will not be easily extradited back to Japan. You can also negotiate terms with politicians there. For example, promise them to control the development of 5 safe zones in Japan. Chapter 407, In the Name of Tian Tong's Family, Fire at the Scorpio. When Tian Tong Juzhiking packed up his things and evacuated Tokyo, several jeeps came to the ladder in the night. Stop, which unit are you from? The soldiers guarding near the ladder and temporarily built a defense line, raised their hands to stop the military jeep near this side, and asked the people in the car. I am the platoon leader under the 3rd Guard Division, this is my certificate. The man who was guaranteed to open the door and get out of the car, handing over his ID to the soldier in front of him. Secretary Lieutenant, what are your tasks here? After checking the ID, he confirmed that there was no problem. The soldier of the top soldier saluted the man. After returning the ID, he politely asked. I'm here to hand over the position of guarding the ladder. Baoei. Zhou people answered after taking his ID. Hearing this, the soldiers were a little surprised. Watching the ladder is not a good task. This place is outside the safe area. Although some metal blocks have been transported and a temporary defense line has been built, some ingredient animals still flow over. If you are not careful, the people who are stationed here may be dragged away and eaten by the gastrula animals. But we did not receive the transfer order. But the soldiers on the other side said at this time. Maybe it's slow, this is my transfer order document. The man Baoei took out a document from the car and handed it over. The soldier was about to take it over and check it, and a knife was exposed from the document and pierced directly into his throat. Woo! The soldier widened his eyes, very confused, and didn't understand why the person in front of him suddenly attacked him. He looked at the Baoei Zhou people in front of him and fell down. Seeing this, the guards on the other side were about to pull out their guns, but the next moment, with a slight sound from Baiyu, he was also killed by a pistol equipped with a silencer in the car. The jeep man pulled out his pistol, and a group of fully armed soldiers came down from the jeep, and these people broke into the ladder. Since there was no big noise, the guard team stationed in the ladder was not at all wary of attacks. After being led by the guard, Zhou Ren scored in and pointed at the first point by the gun, he directly lost the ability to resist. Are you spies from other places? The guard officer tied up his hands and feet, wanted to find out some information from the mouths of the guards who were subduing him and others. Spy? No, we are not spies, we are from the Tian Tong family. This time, we will eliminate Scorpios in the old port area under the order of the head of the Tian Tong family. Baoei Zhou Ren was very happy to reveal the master messenger behind him, which was the reward for the 5 million compensation he gave to the Tian Tong family. If the Tian Tong family dares to humiliate themselves for 5 million, then they will use the name of the Tian Tong family to cause trouble for the Tian Tong family. You are crazy. The Holy Emperor has issued an order to prohibit us from attacking Scorpios in the old port. Ha! We are not the Holy Emperor. The Holy Emperor is just a pretty bitch who is weak and incompetent to the intestinal animals, but the Tian Tong family is different. We must eliminate the intestinal animals and Scorpios. When it comes to the Holy Emperor, Baoei Zhou Ren was angry. Didn't he just inform the Tian Tong family? There were not many people who did this before, but why was it him who was dismissed directly and did not give any chance? The intelligent operating system of the ladder is not here, and it is useless for you to come here to control us. The officer guarding the ladder also felt that the Holy Emperor ordered not to fire at Scorpios, but now he was more worried that the group of guys who came here to control their Tiantong family faction would do whatever they wanted. The intelligent operating system is not here, but isn't there a manual operating system here? As the Baoei Zhouren said, he opened the control system of the ladder in front of him. You are crazy, without the assistance of the intelligent operating system, relying solely on manual operation to aim at targets over 50 kilometers away, it is one thing if you hit it. What if you fail to hit it and anger Scorpio, what should you do? The guard officer questioned. What should I do? The Tiantong family and the Holy Emperor are not good things. I wish I could let these two parties do it together. Baoei Zhouren thought in his heart, and replied with a determined attitude on his face, if you don't succeed, you will be successful. This is all for Tokyo. For Tokyo. A group of soldiers followed, and they were all fooled from the army by the Baobuzwo people in the name of the Tiantong family, who disliked the Gastrula animals and the cursed sons. And this shot doesn't matter whether it is Cheng or not. His purpose is to anger Scorpio and anger the monster boy who instantly eliminated the 3rd Navy Fleet. After finishing this shot, he ran away immediately, and his back was ready, and he took a plane to Osaka, and then joined the 5 Fighting Club with this achievement. Baoei Zhou thought very well, and the ladder started. Since Scorpio stays in the old port area, the power supply here has not been interrupted. In other words, just fill the bullets of metal and can fire. The ultra-high power mirror is turned on. On the screen in front of me, there was a Scorpio figure more than 50 kilometers away. The man of Baoei sat on the manual operating table and held the rocker and started aiming indifferently. In the old port district, Broly sat on the Scorpio's head. These days he has been staying by Scorpio to prevent Scorpio from running to the safe zone. Suddenly, he felt a sense of threat. This feeling is like an ordinary person swaying around with a sharp object in front of his eyebrows after closing his eyes. Broly frowned and looked in the direction that gave him this feeling. At the height of Scorpio, he sat on Scorpio's head and could easily see the architectural appearance of the ultra-electromagnetic cannon in the distance. The latter began to light up, and the long barrel cannon body lit up one by one, and the speed was not slow, but when it reached the end, boom! Accelerated to the metal shell with sublight speed and theoretically 5% light speed is directly fired. A distance of more than 50 kilometers was instantly crossed in front of 5% of the speed of light. However, before it hit Scorpio's hill-like body, the hot metal shell was intercepted in advance, like a firework that bloomed rapidly, suddenly blooming above the forest under the moon. Bang bang bang! The debris scattered on the ground, causing a series of significant explosions. What followed was a hot air pressure. Feeling the burning pain from both hands, Broly's face was expressionless. The figure disappeared in the air. But facing the ballistic traces shot out by the super electromagnetic shells in the air flew towards the direction of the ladder at an extremely fast speed. What's going on? Why did the shells explode in advance? Even with the assistance of technology, it is difficult for ordinary people to observe the scene where the Saiyan blocks the super electromagnetic cannonballs. All the people in the ladder building could see was the fired light shells, which suddenly exploded in the air before attacking Scorpio. Recharge, fill in new shells, and have another round. The people of Baoei Zhou didn't care. The ladder has never been used since it was made. Now, it is normal to have some problems. The man looked at the screen, and it seemed that he was not affected by the explosion. He was still sleeping and gave orders to the people around him. But before anyone could respond, the ladder suddenly shaking violently with a bang. What's the situation? Is it the ladder about to collapse just by firing a shell? Baoei Zhou people cursed in their hearts. Fortunately, the vibration lasted for only a while. After Broly bent the scorching gun barrel, he felt the presence of gas inside the gun barrel, so he directly smashed the thick building and broke into the room of the control room. You are using this thing to try to attack Scorpio. The Saiyan boy who broke in, looked at the group of people inside and asked straight to the point. Damn it, how could this monster appear here? Baoei Zhou reacted and shouted to the soldiers he brought. Come on, shoot and kill him. The soldiers had not figured out the situation yet, but they subconsciously followed the orders. However, before they raised their muzzles, the trigger was pulled, and the bodies of these people were crushed and destroyed like tofu. Ah! The soldier who was interrupted by a waste fell to the ground. After realizing it, he was about to exhale the pain when he was stepped on his head with a small foot. The sound stopped with the bursting head. Tell me, why attack Scorpio? Wait, we are not in the same group as them. The officer stationed at the ladder reacted and quickly cleared his relationship with the gunner. You can see that, so you who are tied up will live. Broly nodded and said seriously. Except for the person tied up, there was no guy tied up, and Broly left only one living mouth. As for the others, they have all been solved, but the solution is a bit rough, like a rotten tomato, and the person is full of violence. Many of the tied soldiers who reacted were pale, fearful, and even retching. Who is here next to the Holy Emperor? Tell me why I attack Scorpio. Broly picked up the pistol bullet that was shot and approached the Babuzi. The man just sat on the ground with his butt, and his pants became wet at a speed visible to the naked eye. I tell you, can you let me go? The Baoei Zhou asked in a trembling voice. He had seen Broly's terrifying means to destroy the Third Navy Fleet, but the means to destroy the fleet that he had seen on the screen were different from the means to actually face the Saiyan boy's method of destroying humans. Let you go. Broly frowned and thought carefully, looking down at his palm that had been broken and bloody. It was hard to imagine what would happen if the shell just now was not intercepted by him but was actually hit on Scorpio. But what is certain is that I am very angry now because Scorpio was almost hurt, and this feeling hasn't been experienced for a long time. Broly is not a Saiyan who likes to deceive others, so he chose to tell the truth. Sorry, I won't let anyone who hurt my wife go, but if you can honestly explain, I will give you a happy way to die. Haha, I'm going to die anyway, so why should I say it? The scoundrel also wants to fight for his own life. But extremely painful fingers. When Broly learned the Pure Land finger, he had read the original assassination boxing technique of the finger-pointing fist. This kind of boxing has assassination and torture. Due to Darkness's special hobbies, Broly also got a bit involved in the torture part. Of course, this is the first time that there is no pain debugging effect, and it is used on people who are not wives. At first, Baoei Zhou could still scream, but when his limbs were cramped to the point where they were as hard as a stone, they could not even make a sound. Only with wide eyes, open mouth, and the breathing method of fish floating on the surface can we see what kind of pain this person is suffering. Muscle spasms are just ordinary pain, and there are even more painful things that make you want to dig out the painful area. You want to try it? Try it. 1 minute later, Broly removed the effect of the extremely painful finger and started asking. It was Tiantong's family who instructed me to do it. Baoei Zhou people are very regretful. Why are they petty and trying to take revenge on the Tiantong family, and why do they choose to attack Scorpio and choose to anger Saiyan boys? But there is no medicine for regret in this world. He didn't want to endure the torture just now, so he decisively explained the behind the scenes of the Tiantong family. Is Tiantong's family? Broly nodded, just as he raised his hand and was about to give the man a happy time. Dingling. In his pocket, the cell phone that Tien Toki gave him before leaving in the evening rang. Broly, where are you now? As soon as it was connected, the voice of his president asking him. When the latter fired the shells, Tien Tongki was reporting to the Holy Emperor about the rejection of the Leech Xingyan. After the latter shell was fired, the Holy Emperor received the news soon. Worried about the situation on Broly's side, Tentoki called soon. Scorpio is fine, the shells are caught by me. I am now firing the shells to deal with the attacker. Broly told the truth. Ah, you caught the shells fired by the latter? No, who is the attacker? On the other side of the microphone, the girl Saint Emperor asked. It's the guard I've seen by you before. I don't know what the name is. My name is Baoei Zhuo. The young man, who was crying, spoke hard, because he heard the familiar voices in the call, ignited hope for life. Sir, save me. Broly, this matter is definitely not what I meant. The Holy Emperor was a little shocked at the identity of the attacker, but he quickly clarified it and asked, prevent the Scorpio, why do you want to attack Scorpio? It was the Tiantong family's order, they gave me 500 million. Baoei Zhou said, gritting his teeth. Do you understand? If you understand, I will send this person on the road, and then come to the safety zone to send Tiantong's house on the road. The other side of the phone became silent, and Broly couldn't help but urge. Broly. I have a reluctant request. What? Can you bring Baoei Zhuo back alive? Why? The Saiyan boy's voice suddenly became cold. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to protect him, but I want to use his accusations to remove the influence of Tiantung's family in the Tokyo Security District political arena in a dignified manner. The girl Saint Emperor quickly explained. I don't understand why I have to do this in vain. The Tiantong family will be destroyed by me. Broly's voice warmed up a little, but he didn't understand why the Holy Emperor made such a request. The impact of solving it with pure violence is different from solving it with rules. Is this important to you? Aren't you fooling me to let this person go? Broly was a little suspicious. Attacking Scorpio may cause mass extinction in Tokyo. This is already a crime against humanity. I promise it will be a death penalty. If you are worried, I can let you execute it yourself. The girl, the Holy Emperor, promised. Oh well. Broly agreed. Hey. Baoei Zhou exhaled a long sigh. Although he would have to die later, the death penalty was executed immediately, which was different from a reimbursement. As long as you are alive, there is still hope. If you can blame all the guilt on Tiantung's family, maybe. Before the man could finish his thoughts, his body was hit by Broly's extremely painful fingers again, and his whole body became spasm again. Why? He asked with difficulty. The death penalty can be avoided for the time being, but the living penalty cannot be escaped. Protective Zhou. Damn it, why not just die? The feeling of pain is as if the pain is about to die of pain in the next moment. But Broly had promised the Holy Emperor that he would take the living person back. Therefore, Broly added his anger to the extreme pain finger, focusing on protecting life safety. I said everything, please stop torture me. The saint who came to the holy house with the man in his hand and was lifted from the Broly version of the life and death talisman, said to the girl Saint Emperor crying and calling for her mother. However, after recovering, this person did not tell the truth, but described himself as a person who was blinded by profit while explaining the whole process of attacking Scorpio. To sum up, it is true that he is unforgivable to collect money and attack Scorpio, but the mastermind is the Tiantong family, and that family is the messenger behind the real attack on Scorpio. Okay, I'll help you catch the Tiantong family's people now. When we want to deal with this person, we will solve it together with the envoys behind it. Broly, do you know where Tiantong's family is? The Saiyan boy who was hurrying to go out was even more stopped by Tiantoki. He knows. Broly reacted and pointed at the Baoei Zhou people and said. I can lead the way. Baoei Zhou licked his face and said quickly. No need, I am more familiar with Tiantung's family. If you restore this guy to what he was like just now, I will take you over and catch people. Hearing this, Baoran stood up in panic and wanted to escape. But it was useless, Broly flashed into front of the man at once. Damn it! Baoei Zhouren's words choked in his throat, staring at his blood-stained eyes, and then he fell straight down. Chapter 408 This world is too dangerous. After getting the scoundrel, Broly came behind Tsubaki Gang, and his forearm passed through the sword ghost girl's armpit. With Tsubaki Gang's screams, he took the other party off the ground and flew out of the open window. The wind in the sky was slightly strong, and it was blowing towards her. Tiantung Mu's softer black hair directly covered Broly's face. Broly shook his head, but failed to shake off the long hair on his face. After thinking about it, he turned his direction, turned his back to the wind, and his hair went forward and left his face. Where is Tiantung's family? The Saiyan boy asked in the ear of the black straight girl. On there. Tiantung Mu felt that his ears were itchy, so he quickly raised his finger and pointed in a direction. Broly flew over in the direction of her finger. The speed is not fast, so there is no need to support the energy cover. It's really good to fly. The Tiantong wooden root, who was erected by the Saiyan boy behind him, was now experiencing the feeling of flying in the sky for the first time, and couldn't help but sigh. You want to learn this? I can teach you. After hearing this, Broly said to the girl in his hand. Hey, is this something I can learn? Hearing this, Tiantoki was even more surprised, but asked. It's not certain whether you can learn it, but whether you can fly you up, because flying requires enough energy. Broly and Tiantoki briefly outlined the air control method of using air to fly, but they cannot guarantee that the other party will be able to fly after learning to use air. In the Dragon Ball world, flying is a basic ability that many miscellaneous fish have, but individuals whose race does not have wings or other flying abilities, if they want to fly with air, they must at least have the level of the Dragon Ball world in the early stage and Tianjin Fan. There are also martial arts in the Black Bomb world, and the martial arts level here is not low. What kind of sword energy cuts the floor and smashes a big tree with one punch is also considered a low martial arts world. Tien Toki is not unfamiliar with the Aura Broly story, but if you want to fly as soon as you hear it, you are thinking too much. The strength of this sword ghost girl is as strong as the level of some participating martial artists in the early stage of the Dragon Ball world and the world's #1 martial arts conference. If you want to learn how to fly with Chi, you may have to practice for a long time. At this time, Broly was already descending with her. From the council of Shenzhou to the mansion of Tiantong's family, I explained the principle of air flight, but it took me more than a minute. After landing, he stood firmly. Tiantong Mu even held the long sword worn by his waist. The cold white blade was pulled out of the scabbard. The black and long straight girl grabbed the hilt and drew several cold sword trajectories in the air. After a few steps, the large wooden door of Tiantong's house was suddenly divided. I heard from you that Chi theory, my swordsmanship seems to have improved again, thank you. Tien Toki thanked the boy more sincerely. Who is playing wild at the door of Tiantong's house? At this moment, the movement from the big wooden door was broken also attracted people from Tiantong's mansion to check the situation. Hey, Miss Mu Gang. The butler with a dark face walked out and after seeing the Tentoki outside, a shocked expression appeared on his face. Imamura butler, please inform the former assistant Tien Tong, what happened to him is going on. Upon hearing this, the butler of Imamura sank and thought it was the USB drive placed at the door tonight, and the things inside were exposed. Tien Tong Mu Gang, you go home as soon as you go home. What door will you chop with a knife? But before the butler could speak, another man with glasses came out of Tiantong's house. Tiantong and Guang, please stop using this reprimanding tone to preach to me. Ha, is this your attitude towards your own brother? First, after my parents died, the Tiantong family, which was silent about the cause of their death, was no longer my home. Second, you who care about your parents' death and live in Tiantong's house as if nothing had happened is no longer my brother. Third, Tiantong's family bought the army and did something that endangered the Tokyo safe zone. This incident has failed and was exposed. I am here to arrest you. This is an arrest warrant. As soon as Tiantong Mu said that, he took out the arrest warrant with the Holy Emperor's private seal and displayed it to Tiantong and Guang. Ha, use your power for personal gain, right? Do you really think that if you don't become an assistant, and you become a celebrity around the Holy Emperor, can you do whatever you want to do with the Tiantong family? Tiantong and Guang were a little confused at first, but then the man thought of something and started to mock Tiantong Qi. Tell you, it's impossible. Even the Holy Emperor behind you cannot do whatever he wants to the Tiantong family. I want to be a slut, and I'm making an international joke. The Tiantong family just lost the position of assistant officer, but other people in the family still hold important positions in some important departments. So, are you planning to resist arrest? What, are you still going to use a strong person? Tiantong and Guang looked disdainful. Just rely on it. Are you a family traitor with damaged kidneys? This man asked mockingly. Are you injured? Broly looked at Tien Toki and asked with a frown. It's just an old injury. If you want to treat it, just change the mechanical kidney. However, before avenging my parents, I want to use this pain and remember this hatred. I'm fine. Tien Toki explained a little more. I have been sticking to the past and told you a long time ago that my parents' death was just an accident. When will you grow up? If it is an accident, why should the family hide it? Why didn't they thoroughly investigate how the Gastrula animals that broke into that year escaped the defense line of the safe area and entered the city and Tiantong's home? This kind of thing is not something you, a child, should care about. Then I want to ask why you, the adult, don't care. Tiantong Mu Geng's long sword aimed at Tiantong and Guang. Catch my gun. The female secretary was ordered like this and soon brought a spear and handed it to Tiantong and Guang. In the Tiantong family, two siblings with a huge age difference began to confront each other inside and outside the broken door. When I learned that it had nothing to do with the USB flash drive, the butler Imamura breathed a sigh of relief, but now he raised his heart again. Master Guang, Miss Mu Geng, please stop. He persuaded. Imamura butler, don't talk. This is not because I want to make things difficult for her, but because she is making things difficult for us. If we don't teach her a profound lesson today, Ganming would not know what troublesome things would this ungrateful family traitor do. But don't worry, she is my sister at least. I will not kill her. At most, it will destroy her hand with the knife. A coincidence, I think so too. Before finding the exact evidence that the death of his parents was directly related to the Tiantong family, Tiantong Mu had not yet murdered the people of the Tiantong family, such as his own brother. Just as the two were about to get started, Broly came directly to Tiantong and Guang, and reached out to put his hand on the man's wrist. What? Before Tiantong and Guang could react, severe pain suddenly came from their wrists. Ah! He cried out in pain, his spear landed directly, and his hand bone had been broken by the Saiyan boy. How did he come here? Why was my hand bone easily broken by a boy? Did Tiantoki do something more? Tiantong and Guang, who did not know Broly's identity, nor did they know the boy's strength, were full of question marks. This is the messenger behind the scenes, we can take it back. Broly dragged Tiantong and Guang, walked to the black girl and said. It's not him who is in charge of the Tiantong family, but Tiantong's Juzhikeng. Tiantoki further explained. So, am I catching the wrong person? Broly asked in confusion. I don't know if he's involved. Tiantoki shook his head even more. Hey, did you ask someone to fire at the Scorpio? Broly thought about it and asked the man next to him in detail. Hey! Tiantong and Guang were confused because he had no idea about firing. Pretend not to know. Broly frowned, reached out and grabbed the other side of the man's wrist, and another click. Ah, no, it hurts so much, no, I never let someone fire at the Scorpio. The pain of the broken wrist made Tiantong and Guang react immediately, and he quickly denied this. Are you lying to me? Broly frowned and was about to give this man a good look, but was stopped by Tiantoki. Where is the chief of the Tiantong Juzi? The black long straight girl asked directly. Grandpa has gone abroad to visit friends. Tiantong and Guang no longer had the momentum of scolding their sister just now, and quickly explained what they knew. I was afraid that the boy who said it was too late and cut off his wrist would continue to hurt himself. I'm afraid I'm not fleeing for fear of guilt when I go abroad to visit my friends. Tiantoki frowned even more beautiful brows. Where did you escape? Broly loosened Tiantong and Guang's wrist, but grabbed the man's neck and floated up, lifted the man up and asked. I don't know. After the words came, Tiantong and Guang felt as if they were holding the palm of their necks and began to increase their strength. But he knows. Who knows? Imamura housekeeper. Because his hands were pinched, Tiantong and Guang could only raise their feet and point them to others. Imamura butler. This grandson sells his parents very quickly. Mr. Ju's Hishin just flew to the United States tonight and said he was going to visit some of his friends there. When the two of them saw it, the butler of Imamura hurriedly explained. I should be able to contact Lord Juzhikeng, and there must be some misunderstandings about firing a Scorpio. Tiantong Juzhikeng was sitting on a private plane to the United States, but the video message suddenly called by the housekeeper brought him a bad news. Someone broke into the ladder and fired at the Scorpio seat with the ladder. The person who fired the fire was already caught by the Saiyan boy. Behind the other party's report, it was the Tiantong family who was instructing him. Hearing these news, Tiantong Kikuchi Cheng was in the aviation seat and his face turned dark. It's right that he wants to eliminate Scorpio, but before the Saiyan boy gets it done, he will attack Scorpio. He is not an old birthday star who eats arsenic, so he will be desperate. It's not you, then why do you want to run away? Broly's mind saw this classic line and he started to question it directly. I didn't run away, I just went abroad to visit friends. Tiantong Juzhikeng replied immediately. It's a big night, go abroad to visit friends. Tiantong Mu even sent a question. It's still daylight in Washington. Well, I can prove this. Broly raised his hand and said. Hey. Tiantoki looked over even more surprised. I have a friend I met online and she once said she was in Washington. Broly explained. How do you prove that you have nothing to do with this matter? Self-proof is the stupidest thing. It is difficult for me to prove that I have never done anything, but as long as I have done everything, there will be traces. Since the person who was arrested said that it was our Tiantong family who spent money to bribe him to fire at Scorpio, then you can check the money that Tiantong family bought the other party. Tiantong Juzhikeng was very sure that his family had never spent such money. Even the private vaults of some members cannot be spent on dealing with Scorpios. After all, that kind of thing happened 10 years ago. What the Holy Emperor wants is to commit sins upright. Tiantoki said even more. Okay, then go back and check it out. Broly had no impulse, but he also expressed his attitude. If it is finally found out that the Tiantong family is the messenger behind the scenes, then no matter where you, the head of the Tiantong family, go, I will find you and kill you. I walk upright and sit upright, and I can't run or hide. It's better. Tiantong just Hiking. From the boy's words in the video, he felt a faint chill. If this thing was done by yourself and she hid and couldn't find it, what would this monster boy do? After closing the communication, Tiantong just Hiking was silent in his seat for a while, and then called the flight attendant on the private plane. I won't go to Washington anymore, go back to Tokyo. The private plane fell and flew back in the direction when it came. More than half an hour later, he returned to Tokyo and came to the Holy Residence to meet the Holy Emperor and inquired about the investigation. He saw that the Tiantong family was the protector of the envoy behind him. I threatened the third lieutenant. I asked myself why you treat you well. Why did you slander the Tiantong family, saying that the Tiantong family was the main messenger who instructed you to use the ladder to fire at the Scorpio? I'm not bad at me? Ha ha ha, I'll give you 500 million, you said 50 million, and I agreed. As a result, your Tiantong family gave me 5 million. I called me and asked if it was wrong. I was ridiculed by your people, and you were paralyzed. Behind is a bunch of elegant Tokyo rude words. What's going on? Tiantong just Hiking looked at Tiantong and Guang with a dark face. Tiantong and Guang didn't know how to explain. Is slandering the other party a slander? This is impossible. At this point, Bao Yi Zhou's underwear will probably be found out. It is impossible to hide the fact that you take the kickbacks yourself. So, this person chose to tell the truth. You. The idea was verified, but Tiantong just Hiking, a scheming politician, almost turned aside. All kinds of moves can be hidden in the dark to watch the situation develop. As a result, because of his stupid grandson's stupid behavior, he led to the stupidity of protecting Zhou, who was also stupid, holding the banner of the Tiantong family, inducing a group of foolish soldiers to attack the ladder, and using the ladder to fire the Scorpio, forcing him to jump back to the open to clean up the mess. I'm very sorry, Lord Holy Emperor, this matter has all started because of Tiantong's family. The chief of Tiantong Zhezi was absolutely not talking about why he was preparing to threaten Zhou Ren for a large sum of money, but he directly apologized to the Holy Emperor. However, apologizing was not the point. The point was that he began to report the Tiantong family and his connections in the army. The art of politics lies in compromise, and this is the price you need to pay to calm the incident after doing stupid things you shouldn't do on the political level. If the previous resignation as an assistant was just a small fuss, then the list of contacts he took the initiative to report to the Holy Emperor would be bleeding. Even if this is not all connections, as long as the Holy Emperor replaces the people above with his own according to the list, the influence of the Tiantong family on the army will definitely be greatly reduced. But this has to be handed over, otherwise, just the name of the Tiantong family can fool a group of soldiers to attack the ladder. So, if he appears, can he raise his arms and shout to replace the Holy Emperor? Some things are not whether you can do them, but whether you have the ability to do them. The Holy Emperor is a student he taught. Although he is a little naive, he also has the appearance of a wise ruler. Your Excellency Juz Heshan, why should you do this? Look, as soon as the list was handed over, the attitude of the girl Saint Emperor immediately eased. However, it is not enough to deal with the Holy Emperor, because beside there is also a more deadly Saiyan boy from another world. Tiantong just Hiking just paused for a moment and came straight to Broly. With a plop, the old man knelt on his knees and his head hit the ground. Hisser Broly, this is indeed the fault of my Tiantong family. I feel ashamed of the fact that almost hurt your wife. If you need a target to vent, then I am willing to compensate with my life. It is difficult to judge with common sense when facing the terrifying existence of great power. However, from the previous knowledge of Saiyan boys, Tiantong just Hiking was willing to bet that the other party was reasonable. At this moment, he took the initiative to admit his mistakes, wanted to kill and cut him, and put his life in front of him. If the other party really wanted to kill, just kill him, which would be considered as minimizing the loss. The grandson of Tiantong and Guang is a big idiot, but as the head of the Tiantong family, he had to consider the future of the Tiantong family. I have a problem. After understanding the reason for the attack, Broly felt more confused than his anger. This matter has nothing to do with Scorpio, but why do they attack Scorpio? After Tiantong Kikara-chan knelt in front of him, the Saiyan boy asked about his confusion. He probably wants to anger Scorpio, irritate you, let Scorpio or you attack the Tokyo safe zone, and then blame the Tiantong family, and make the Tiantong family pay the price. But, Scorpio is just sleeping in the old port area, and I am just accompanying her. Why are they used as a tool to retaliate against your Tiantong family? In this world, there are many things that have no reason, but more just whether they need it or not. As a gastrula animal, Scorpio is naturally hated by humans. This man just needed to use this hatred to falsely report the name of Tiantong's family to attract a group of soldiers from the army who were willing to attack the latter with him. As for attacking Scorpio, it is actually not necessary, but only Scorpio is the closest and most suitable, that's all. Tiantong Juzhikeng was silent for a moment and then carefully answered Broly's question. Then if I kill you, will he be happy? Yes. Okay, you won't die. Broly nodded and the next moment, he came to Baiao Yaizhou. The young man who was chattering was directly broken. Everyone present was startled, but said nothing. Broly left. Tiantong Juzhikeng breathed out a long breath. This level should be considered passing. In the evening, a post about this world is too dangerous was uploaded to the internet. In the post, it clearly states, this world is too dangerous. My wife, Scorpio, is pitiful and helpless. She just sleeps in place and is used by bad people. If I hadn't reacted quickly enough, she would have been attacked by bad people. This world is too dangerous. I thought my wife was very powerful and there should be no danger, but now I am wrong. There is actually a weapon like a ladder that specializes in hitting my wife. It is too dangerous. This world is too dangerous. I have limited time to stay in this world to protect my wife. If my wife cannot change her situation before I leave this dangerous world, then I will do something for her. May I ask, where is the weapon like a ladder in this world? May I ask, what else in this world is threatening to zodiac gastrula animals? No, brother kid, are you doing abstraction? Broly's post about the world is too dangerous was quickly replied to below, and most people thought he was doing abstraction. After all, who would treat a hill-like gastrula animal as his wife? Who would think that they can block the attack of shells fired by super electromagnetic guns? Who else would ask netizens online what are threatening animals that are natural disaster-level gastrula animals, and would be ready to write them down and destroy those things? Obviously, no one took Broly's online speech seriously. However, many people told Broly that there are countries with weapons like ladders. Some people even mentioned the Yvonne nuclear bomb, which is also a weapon that can pose a threat to the zodiac. Broly recorded it one by one, and in addition to the possession of powerful weapons abroad, his online friend Miss Nightingale also told him that the International Starter Supervision Agency was recorded, and among the top police, there was a combination of the results of eliminating zodiac gastrulation animals. I don't know how to win, but Taurus and Virgo were indeed defeated by the first and second IP police combination. I remember the list of police officers from IIOS, Nightingale, thank you for your reminder. Tina Sprounter didn't know that because of her casual reminder, the IP ranking of the International Starter Supervisory Agency directly became the death list of the Saiyan boys in another world, and they could follow the IP ranking above to eliminate dangers at any time. Because of the shot from the ladder, Broly began to feel anxious about Scorpio's safety, and wanted to relieve this anxiety. It is necessary to solve the problem that Scorpio may encounter danger in this world, and if there is no better way, then, before leaving, solving some people or things in this world that may pose a threat to Scorpio is the only choice for Saiyan boys. There is no doubt that this world is in danger.